Today, I learned we'll share experience. We'll share experiences in working with women's shelters and cybersecurity trainings, especially for victims of domestic abuse, facing recent technologies such as AirTags, stalkerware, and digital identities. Please give them a warm welcome.
Hello. 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 Hi. Thank you for joining my domestic abuse party. Saturday nights and everything. I named my talk Escaping Big Brother because that represents the real estate, or your ex, because that's the real problem. So, have you got your beers?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good, me too. My name is Elin, which is a very Scandinavian name, and I'm an intelligence analyst, and I do threat assessments and stuff. I just consider this like my lucky charm that I got to work with, being an OSINT freak and get paid for the opportunity to do so. And so the company I work for is the security partner of this umbrella organization of women's shelters in Sweden, and they have shelters all over the country. So part-time, I help out with cybersecurity training, but also like trying to assess different security challenges. So I got to merge information security and like my angry feminism, which is a dream come true, truly. Trigger warning, domestic violence, I guess. We're going to be talking about some heavy topics, but I am a huge proponent of, if unsure whether to laugh or cry, try laughing. So there's going to be a bunch of stupid jokes. I'm sorry to say. Not sorry. The main deal about domestic abuse in the digital realm is about how the attacker starts as an admin, or at least a very trusted user. And that's a threat model that most people have not accounted for. He's an insider. He already has a root. Does your threat model include your attacker sleeping next to you every night in bed? Probably not. So considering this state to analyze this security threat, here's a thought experiment. What if we took the Mitra attack framework and see if we could use it from the perspective of an abuser? So your attacker is your boyfriend, or your husband, or your father, or your brother. And as I went through this framework, I realized that it's applicable for your average domestic violator, but also like human traffickers, pimps, patriarchs, your local crime lords, anyone who for whatever reason thinks it's useful to exploit women. So step 1, reconnaissance. What does your goal have that you can exploit to control her? What connections does she have? What is she good at? What does she enjoy? Plan to take them away from her. Step 2, resource development. So you develop your resources necessary to assume control. And one highly exploitable resource is children. Making her pregnant is inserting her with a payload that she will treat like a critical asset. This is what you're in for tonight. And that method is actually fucking brilliant, and is very popular in like the human trafficking and sex slavery trade, because apparently people will do anything to protect their offspring, which is, highly exploitable. So, as your initial access vector, am I still in my, nope, there. You slide into her DMs, house, and or uterus. As part of your execution, you can attack her sense of self-worth and identity by running malicious gaslighting code that degrades her defense capabilities. Some known vulnerabilities in women include slut-shaming, internalized misogyny, and often heterosexuality. I am straight. I am allowed to make that joke. Once children are achieved, persistence in this exploit is virtually guaranteed for biological reasons, as well as supported by the legal system. While creating children is open source knowledge, the terms and conditions and licenses are legally binding and widely enforced. Meaning, even if she managed to leave, you're almost certain to be allowed access to her using the kids VPN. Or brats, some are... Laugh, do not cry. I mean, sometimes the jokes are so poor that I understand, yes. You can escalate your privileges because it's not enough to control her mind and body. Patriarchy recommends controlling also her financially, socially, legally. So you can escalate your privileges to control her bank accounts, ability to exercise legal action, i.e. you pwn her EID, and communications, her socials. And so depending on your victim's environment, defense mechanisms may appear. So some solutions can include abusing trusted processes like having her defend your actions or lie on your behalf to the friends and family network, or disconnect her from such networks completely. You can attempt to hide artifacts associated with your adversarial behaviors, like shaming her into covering bruises with increasingly modest clothing. Credential access. Kind of covered in privilege escalation. If coercion is not yielding a 100% success rate of credential capture, like you don't know what accounts you have, you can always install security cameras inside the home and watch her input any passwords or PIN numbers, etc. And if there's anything you haven't found out about her already, investigate what relationships seem prone to survive sustained attacks and may remain trusted even after you've assumed complete control over her, such as the mother relationship. Then make sure to sever that connection as well. Lateral move. Okay, maybe this Mitra network framework is not entirely applicable to the situation. It's becoming a bit wonky, but I'm thinking if you also ensure you control her lateral movements, like for instance, you have a tracking device in her car, that is if her car is ancient, otherwise it is a tracking device that you can just gain credentials to. As we learned from Volkswagen just yesterday. Also, if you work at Volkswagen, you have this access, I suppose. Collect a sorted amount of nudes, lewds, and other materials that you can use to reinforce your coercive measures. Use them as leverage or compromat. At this point, you can make her an agent under your command and have her transport your drugs, hide your guns, take out loans for you, buy stuff for you, or in general, just sign her name wherever you prefer not to have yours. So she's your user agent. Or wife bot. Exfiltration, okay, the matrix is kind of glitching. At this point, she's just a ghost in the shell of the person she once was. Impact. The Mitra framework describes this as the adversary is trying to manipulate, interrupt, or destroy your systems and data. And the answer is yes. Lives are getting destroyed. Women are getting murdered. When she's completely pwned like this, like according to this framework, extreme violence is often the last means of escalation remaining. So every year, about 15 women are killed by a man that they've loved. In Sweden, where I'm from, which is like one of the good countries. I suppose this is a fairly low number, but it's also an unknown number of people suffering in the previous stages that I've described. So one common question is like, but if this is so awful, why doesn't she leave? Well, actually, she probably did try to leave. Most are killed in the process of leaving. That's when the true last escalation occurs. Or because he thinks she's leaving. Like she started to change her passwords or started to cover up the cameras. When she's starting to take action is often the most dangerous point, in short. And digitally controlling loved ones is exploding in prevalence. I bet a bunch of you in the audience have an app that at any moment could tell you where your partner is, like GPS coordinates. And this is not necessarily problematic, but I think you can see how this is very abusable for someone who is not nice. Leaving used to be hard. Then came the surveillance state internet, a militarized zone where everything is kept. So imagine her life in this environment. I will be sharing examples from real life to illustrate how all-encompassing the possibilities of surveillance and control are today. So here are some ways of exerting control. Starting with home camera surveillance. There was a woman, she approached a shelter, and she said she didn't think she was being monitored in her home, but he knew all these things that he couldn't have, and she did not understand how he knew all these things when he wasn't even home. So they told her to check for cameras. One night he was out, and she turned the lights down, and she used her phone's camera to like film the inside of her apartment, and small purplish infrared camera sensors were looking back at her from every corner of the flat. She's free now. Tracking hardware. I'm gonna open a link now and see if this works. Yeah. Apple is literally advertising that you should get a watch that the parents control. This is good to find out if your kid has made it back home from football practice, but it's of course also usable to monitor adults. I mention them specifically because they advertise geofencing. That's the "Where's Erica" thing here. You can literally get a notification if someone leaves your allowed, permitted, geolocated, like geofenced area. Like if your wife leaves her home or workplace outside of office hours. Secondly, in most aspects, they're just a complete smartphone in a small format. They come with an eSIM and microphone and camera and everything, so they're able to listen and look and locate just like a smartphone. But because they're watches, people underestimate how spooky they are. So I've had to tell actual police officers that they work like this, that they have all the things that a smartphone does. They think that they can have a private conversation with a kid who had an Apple Watch on as they were interviewing them about whether or not their parents were being abusive and threatening to kidnap them to a different country. The parents could probably hear the whole conversation. Actually, they probably got a frickin' notification when they were taken from school and escorted by the cops to the social services to have this private conversation. I don't know what happened to the kid. Same story with AirTags. They last for months and months. Oops. Did I? Ooh. even years, and are easily hidden. Shelters have found them hidden in the lining of like the kid's school bag, dropped in the car, like in the vent of a car, like where the air comes out, glued to the inside of toys. So months after initial release of this product, Apple released a fix where they sent an alert to your phone. Let me scroll down to the privacy thing at the bottom here. Privacy is built in. For the owner of the AirTag, I remind you, not anyone who might be... they sent an alert they will send an alert to your iPhone if an AirTag is following you around. Note, alert your iPhone, not every phone. I hear they're working on this, that this is supposed to be like compatible with Android at this point, but I'm sure there is spyware that just blocks Android like from receiving notifications from the Find My network. That seems easy for me. So being good security researchers, the women's shelter tested this alert system. They bought an AirTag, registered it, set it up, and then had one of their colleagues bring it home with her, and then they waited for it to reveal itself. On Apple's website here, it says that it'll start playing a sound after a while. And in their example screenshots on the right, the notification shows up 51 minutes after the tag first being noticed. Our women's shelter got the notification after 18 hours. That is enough time to stash an AirTag in the kids' stuff, in her bag, in her car, or whatever, and then follow her to her new secret home. Fun, right? Saturday night. Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can tab back into my... Yeah. Social media, or, endless amounts of tracking software. There's an XKCD for everything. So you might be sharing your location through social media and other apps. You have to check the settings of each app. Camera and photo apps often store the location. Like, remember that time at the beach 3 months ago? Wasn't that nice? How does my phone know I was at the beach? Well, because it comes with GPS data. And if you send that photo, you might transmit that same geolocation data. Of course, the OSINT possibility of seeing what's in the photo and realizing where something is in the world, like landmarks. Friends might share your location through social media by checking you in or taking a photo of you together at the restaurant, and then it's Googleable if which restaurant this is, and therefore where you are in the world. And so I'm mentioning this, I'm getting my head out of myself. So you have to be in control also of what your new network does after you've left, which is easier said than done. That's not a photo. Sorry. Okay. I had another XKCD. Bad markdown. It's the one where they share. It's like. Can I just do it like this? This is stupid. Yeah. Sorry for the small, still works, very good. Yeah, a crypto nerd's imagination, oh no, it's super encrypted, what are we gonna do? You take this $5 wrench and you beat them with it. We build so many security measures around the idea that people are not fragile meat sacks that can be manipulated or injured or coerced or tricked or just stressed out. No, sorry. So, The list of ways to navigate and to monitor someone online is, of course, very long. Once you act on the internet, like you have shopping apps or ride-sharing apps or food delivery services, all of these could potentially reveal your own location. The Snapchat map, find my network, recent logins from this new town. Do you recognize this? IP addresses. Welcome to Radisson Blu Hamburg. Your Wi-Fi will automatically connect, and you go to wiggle.net repository to see where this Wi-Fi network is in the world. The psychology of control. Fortunately, this is not. This is like even a bit too dark for me, and this is the expertise of the women's shelters who actually work directly with the victims. The idea that many get is like, it's just better if I do what he says. This facetious degrading of her defense capabilities I was talking about, like in the former part, leads to that you can teach her to take the path of least resistance to your benefit, usually doing whatever necessary to avoid the next attack. You manipulate the system to avoid future attacks. Sorry, is that 10 minutes has passed, or I have 10 minutes left? 10 minutes left, very good. I mean, you're very nice. Cheers. So, whatever is necessary not to provoke the next attack, or as they famously say, obeying in advance. Is there a comparison between fascism and abusive relationships? Yes, probably, but someone much smarter than me will have to put that together. Famously, it's also about nudes as extortion. This is so common, it's insane. While it is common to trick someone into trusting you with their nudes and then abusing that trust by threatening to share them to extort you, it's of course also a thing that the abuser either forcibly takes non-consensual intimate pictures or secretly takes them. So this is very hard to protect against. It's not the case like, why were you stupid enough to send these photos to him? It's like, no, it's me in the shower, So either way, he can use them as a means of extortion, and depending on your context, that also means that your future is in ransom, because that could mean that you won't get employed or you can't stay in the career that you're in. This is, by the way, absolutely rampant among kids, like literal children taking and sharing nudes of themselves and each other with no regard for the fact that they're generating illegal content and then threatening to spread them. And because they're kids, they don't even know that, they think they will get in trouble, so they don't even talk to adults about it. And then, so there are 14-year-olds in your life who think that their lives are over because they know that nudes have been grabbed from them. I've mentioned this, but the forced disclosure of credential and biometrics is just also a given. When your attacker is sleeping next to you in bed, there is no keep your password hidden. This is just not applicable. There was a woman who was escaping her abusive husband, and she needed special help because he was constantly monitoring her geolocation. And she worked in a large place, like an airport shopping mall situation, so you could see even where in her workplace she was. And she had to tell him at any given time who she was with and why she was there. So she had to photograph the legs and the shoes of the people she was in a meeting with so he could approve who they were and knew exactly who she was interacting with. So in order to actually speak to a women's shelter, they organized it so that she took some photos in advance, left the phone in this room that she said that she was alone preparing for a presentation in, and then she looked through a glass door and moved to the room with the women's shelter where she could actually have a private conversation while seeing if he at any time would be texting her. This is like a bizarre level of opsec, but she also had an absurdly possessive and persistent attacker. She is free today. So I think you're appreciating the level of the challenge here, but it is all about that threat model. So one thing they'll tell you at women's shelters is that it's not the capacity of the threat actor, it's like his persistence, his motivation. It's not the easily distracted, like super capable person, it's the village idiot who just won't give up and will never let her go. That's the real problem. It's also a battle of attrition. It's whoever is first to be exhausted, who is the first to lose. So giving up is not an option. Some examples of persistence that are, so many of these issues are actually because of like obscurity. Like they're insecure because of obscurity. We don't know well enough how they work, so we're not sure how to guard against them. And one of those things is parental control on devices. So we've seen cases where an Apple account has been moved to, that has been like designated as a minor or whatever, and moved to a new device, and the new device has retained that sort of like master-slave relationship to an admin device. And this is like very intransparent how to remove. And I assume it's so that your average teenager can't escape it, and so that, you know, the lockdown at 10 p.m. is not like they can't get around it, but it of course can be used to surveil and monitor adults. And this is a legal and default feature. It's not even jailbreaking. And unrooting a device is kind of difficult. Like, it's even for an experienced user, we're not sure if it's safe. The car, the parking apps. The parking apps, so you have them here too. Camera parking, where you don't actually have to like interact with a parking thing. You just like drive in, and a camera checks out your license plate, and it starts your parking meter automatically. Apparently, you can just add anyone's car to your parking app, and you get a notification when they enter like Hamburg, like Europa Passage, or whatever it's called, because it's whoever is paying that gets the notification. No verification needed. So get a new car, I guess. Access to the kids, of course, also a nightmare. If you like, they have an Xbox account, you're friends with them, you can see now that they're logged on. If you know that they have a Steam account that's on a gaming computer that's only at home, that's when you know when it's time to go and kidnap them, etc., etc. I'm gonna run over time, I can already tell. Social media. There was a case where there was a safe house that was run by the municipal social services, and they tried to enforce like a no devices policy, but there were a couple of bored kids, and so they were locked up in there with their mom, and so they were doing like a TikTok dance or whatever. I sound very old. And they were not posting the geolocation or where they were, but in the down comments, there was another kid who wrote like, "Oh, you guys are at Safe House 11. I recognize the bed sheets. Because I've been there." And they share this with no regard, like they have no idea of the consequences. And I know you can imagine how this, yeah. Defender's dilemma, galore, when it comes to learning on the fly. And also, traumatized people are terrible learners. It's very hard to explain and how to say, like, you need to focus on all of these details when you're, like, literally panicking. So any and all defensive measures that we recommend, they have to be very difficult to get wrong. There's a supply chain attack in the sense that you're reliant on others not leaking your information. Anything from like the tax agency not revealing your new address to someone, and like the parents on the new school not taking pictures and uploading of your kids. You can be court-ordered as a victim to provide your attacker with OSINT materials. This is considered an upgrade according to the state. a patch. Because it used to be that you needed to bring them physically to meet your abuser. Now you send photos of where you are in public, or have video calls with no support on not sharing your IP address or whatever. This is a result of the original sin, of course. Here's me showing my hand that I'm not a programmer. Again, thank you for appreciating my stupid jokes. Generally, we don't condition privacy, we don't condition human rights with knowledge and ability, but we do condition privacy. You need to know how to defend your own privacy, otherwise, screw you. Default is to share everything with everyone because surveillance capitalism. So the AirTag is to me such a flagrant example of how you introduce something first and then oops, did people die? Oh no, maybe we can release a patch in a few months that kind of works. Move fast and break things. Fuck Apple. Even the goddamn weather app. There was a talk today, even the goddamn weather app is dumping your geographical data. Data hoarding companies practice stalking, honestly, same thing. Collecting any and everything just in case they couldn't use it against you in the future. And as many have said during the last 20 years, more, once the info is out there, it's really, really hard to get it back down. And we need to start building these systems with privacy by default. And I am very much appreciating the new expanded definition of privacy that Meredith Whittaker was discussing, because not publicly posting my Instagram photos is technically private. But no, it's not really private for a full human with with a complex environment and complex history and a complex future that they cannot predict. Ooh, bright side. Because of how the project with the women's shelters have, I'm over time. Yes, this is truly the last, the end of the talk. I get to tell the decision makers and money holders about this. I get to train social service workers what the problem is. I get to tell them that, no, these devices are not to be trusted. You need to provide the funds for them to get new ones. You need to provide the training for your social service workers not to reveal the new location of, et cetera, which is very good. And this is a unique opportunity, and I will be booking everything I can to in the coming years. When you inevitably try to help, because you're very helpful people, plan before you act. Do not immediately start logging off the friend you're worried about from all of her accounts and change her credentials so you can keep the attacker out. When you start doing counter surveillance, you reveal the fact that you know. If she is being surveilled, you will show your hand and may trigger further escalation. Make a plan first for a clean getaway and then start deleting and burning everything. And work together with women's shelters, Frauenhäuser. They're experts in this part of the game. Report abusers. They do it because they get away with it. And go assist your local shelter with counter-surveillance, digital forensics or training. Help them wipe devices. Make secure and disinfected backups so that you can keep some semblance of a real life even after you have to go into hiding. So, thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we have 5 minutes for Q&A.
Hello.
On the left.
Yes. Hi. Not all heroes wear capes, I guess, is what I'm going to start with. But
Sometimes they wear caps.
yeah, there we go. There we go. But one thing I would like to ask: what do you think about IoT and smart homes? I guess I just wanted to have this out there, in the public. It hasn't been mentioned explicitly.
Yes, as you can, my list was already too long. No, IoT is just as bad as you think, and it's ripe for abuse. They're not built with any kind of security, as default. There's a famous tweet where someone was like tech fanboys. It's like, my whole home is smart. I've automized everything. And then it's like real tech people. It's like, I have one printer and I hold a gun towards it in case it makes a sound I do not recognize. If you were at the Belarus anarchist talk, using a hammer to smash a phone that you don't like is also, yes, burn everything.
Let's go. Number 5.
First of all, thank you for the talk. I heard about stalkerware like half a year ago because I think one of them got busted. They just deleted their backups. And as far as I know, you need to root a device to install it, so it's kind of technically complicated. As there are like so easy methods, like the Apple AirTag, is like stalkerware widely used? And do you know if it's like easy for like a person who is technically be knowledgeable to identify if their phone is infected?
Thank you for this question. It's a kind of a complicated subject. I would refer back to threat model. If you think that your abuser is capable of either installing such a device, or installing such stalkerware, know what it is, and has the motivation to do it. So we have seen, for instance, when it's enough to just use parental controls for someone who's like, I bought my wife's iPhone, so I can control it from there. And then you have honor-killing potential victims that are members of a clan where there are Saudi Arabian money and Pegasus waiting to be installed in case you need to control someone in the diaspora or who's leaving the family. So it's all whether or not it's there is probably down to threat model. And then the second part of the question, if someone who's capable of identifying these tools, it varies too much. How they reveal themselves. There are I've Googled. It's just I want to install spyware, and it was ours is great because it's not noticeable. And then I wrote to them and I'm like, hey, I think I'm worried that my boyfriend installed this on my phone. What should I do? And there's it's okay. We would never sell to someone who's an abuser. And so the problem is that the range is too wide, and trying is always good because security is on a scale, but there are no guarantees.
Mike 6.
First of all, thank you for your work. And my question is, what's so weird to hear myself? So in my opinion, it's always better to prepare before something is happening. So would there be an advice you would give to women in general so we maybe can avoid such situations you just described?
I absolutely agree. It's better to prevent security breaches than trying to fix them afterwards. Rely on your network. Never let someone isolate you. If they do not want you to talk to your friends and family, and if you're not allowed to criticize your partner or your friend or your family, it's because they're trying to control you. Remain steadfast in that you are a true like a human with value and allowed to be a full complex human. And because that's the first thing that they want to take away from you. So, and help like guard and educate friends and family, daughters and sons, not to like fall into.